London Mayor Sadiq Khan. Mr. Mayor, we're talking on these occasions too frequently now. It's another dark day for London. Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. This was a truly horrific terrorist attack on our city that deliberately targeted our fellow Londoners, many of whom, as you've been reporting, were returning from the nighttime Tarawih prayers that we do during the month of Ramadan. I've been in close contact with the Met Police Commissioner during the course of the night and other officers, and I will be going to the Cobra meeting that is chaired by the Prime Minister. The good news, if it is good news, is that only one person has died. 8 others are in a hospital, 4 different hospitals across London. And we've got to recognise, Nick, that actually, these terrorists, however they're inspired, whether it's Islamist-inspired terrorists or others inspired in other ways, seek to, fuel division and divide us, and we can't allow them to succeed.
Get close to Eid, of course, which is I can't remember whether it's Saturday or Sunday. It's on this week.
Yeah, it's Sunday or Monday. Yeah.
Sunday, I'm so sorry, Sunday or Monday. So it comes towards the end of Ramadan.
Yeah.
What extra facilities, resources, or officers will we put around mosques across London?
So many of your listeners will know this, but actually during the month of Ramadan, only do we open our fast at dusk around 9:25, 9:30. But there are nighttime prayers taking place in mosque, and the last week are the holiest for Muslims, so there's more worship taking place in mosques in the evenings as we approach dawn. The good news is the Commissioner has agreed, and it was her idea to make sure there are more police officers across London, reassuring those mosques and other places of worship. People will see extra neighbourhood police officers walking the beat, speaking to communities. I'm afraid the bad news is that after the London Bridge terrorist attack, we did see a spike in hate crime, a lot of it, a large proportion of it, Islamophobic focused hate crime. But actually, that's sort of gone down a bit, and we've got to make sure that everyone is confident to report if they're the victim of a hate crime. Don't think it's too trivial. Please report it. The police take it really seriously, and the Commissioner said it's a top priority.
How safe is London, Mr. Mayor?
Look, we are safe. You compare London to any global city, and I mean global city. I don't want to compare and contrast and sort of shame other cities, but whether it's victims of crime, homicides, we're a safe global city. And one of the reasons that we can be confident is our police service and emergency services work incredibly hard to keep us safe. Last night, for example, members of the community did a great job apprehending this driver, and then the police were there within a minute and took over, and thankfully it appears this is one man, nobody else involved. There's nobody else the police are chasing, as I understand it, and it's important to recognise that actually these terrorist attacks, I'm afraid over the last period we've seen an increase in them. Since the Westminster Bridge attack, there's been this is now the 4th inverted commas successful attack. 5 more though have been thwarted.
Another day of negative headlines that are going around the world, whether it is, as you rightly remind us, there have been a couple of terror attacks, and there's the tragedy at Grenfell Tower last week, and now we have this terror attack, it would appear, in the early hours of this morning. It's not a good look for London.
Well, I'd say this to your listeners, Muslim Welfare House, which is the place where the worshippers were leaving, were having events to commemorate Joe Cox, the great get-together. Really successful with members of all different communities. But you're right, of course, this is an extremely difficult time for our city. Unprecedented in recent years. We're still recovering from the dreadful attack on London Bridge, still responding to the terrible fire at Grenfell Tower. But I know that Londoners will come through this. We will stay strong, and we will never be divided.
Lastly, the fire last week at Grenfell Tower, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn suggesting that local property should be requisitioned or seized. Do you support that idea as the London Mayor?
I support local residents being rehoused locally as soon as possible. We're now on day 4, day 5. I was there yesterday again. And it can't be beyond the wit of us to make sure we rehouse these people locally, whether it's in local hotels, local housing association properties, other properties, because I've been speaking to residents who aren't being rehoused locally, are staying with family and friends, sofa surfing, and they need to be rehoused locally as soon as possible.
Yes, but is seizing property the way forward?
Well, look, we've got to find ways to make sure we can find the homes for these families locally.
Right.
There are loads of hotels locally, Nick. I mean, we know from the area there's loads of hotels. Other local authorities have offered properties very, very nearby, but there are housing associations. There are private properties which the government should be paying rent for to get them over to local properties, local families. The key point is this: we know that actually years and years of neglect from local authorities across London, across the country, has led to a situation where not enough homes were built, social homes, and there's such a situation where you've got families who can't be rehoused locally.
Lastly, is London on the verge of Islamophobia?
No, listen, I speak as somebody who's a practicing Muslim. There is nowhere else in the world I would like to live or raise my family. We're a city where people like me are not simply tolerated, we're respected, we're embraced, and people celebrate our way of life. And you'll see next Sunday and Monday, non-Muslims wishing people like me Eid Mubarak, embracing us, wishing us best wishes. The respect that I receive as a Muslim and others receive as Muslims from fellow Londoners makes me so proud to be a Londoner.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.